Hello trumpet players, this is video number 8 in the Comeback Trumpet Player's Guide. We're going to talk in this video about public performances. My stance on this has changed over the years. I used to be very strict with my students. That part has changed too. But I mean, I used to be very strict about this one thing. I used to be very strict, almost demanding that they would sign up for something somewhere to not just play their trumpet at home. And I still kind of hold that same principle, right? I still think that's the best thing. However, what's changed over the years is that my lessons have become, my studio has become more professional. And what I mean by professional, more professional, less academic. The academic model for lessons is, I'm the master, you come to me so that I can tell you all the things you absolutely must do. Because I know as a master what you have to do. That's the academic model. The professional model is sort of like a doctor. You come to me with an objective. And my job is to help you. I said a doctor. A better example would be a better analogy would be a life coach or something, a coach of some sort. You come to me with your objective that you want to accomplish. I help you put into place a method or an approach to accomplish that objective. That's when my demand that you must play publicly began to change. Now don't get me wrong, there are still times when I'm going to say, you know what, you really should be playing in a group. Even if you don't want to. See, just because, I like this analogy, right? I like to think of my teaching as a safari guide. I go to Africa every once in a while. And even though I've never been on a safari, I've been tromping around in the bush probably more than my share of times, right? Not full-fledged safaris like you see in the movies. Actually something much better than that, in my opinion. Walking around in the wilderness in Africa, right? And I think about the safari guide who says, don't stick your hand in that hole. Now, you're the boss and the guide is your employee. But I guarantee you, if the guide says, don't stick your hand in that hole, you should probably not stick your hand in that hole, right? So I love that analogy. And so when you come to me and you want to reach that objective, and I say, you need to do this, this, and this, and you say, oh, I don't want to do that, you're still the boss. But you should probably do that if you want to reach your objective. You see what I'm saying? So this is not about you just doing whatever you want to do. I have to make that clear. But what has changed over the years is that what people's objectives are cannot be improved. Some of them cannot be improved by public performances. If you come to me and you say, I just want to have a little bit of passing fun on the trumpet, then my job here is to help you have a little bit of passing fun. You don't have goals, you don't have high aspirations, you don't have this goal to be a great player, you don't have this goal to accomplish this, or that. You just want to enjoy playing the trumpet in a little. So, like, what we might do in that context is use play along tracks and stuff like that. And you can sit at home and I can help you get the most out of your pleasure time spending that time with the trumpet. I have the ability to do that because I've helped people do that in the past. However, for most everybody else, we talk about in these videos, we talk about your purpose. Why did you decide you wanted to pick the trumpet back up again? For most purposes, you are better off finding a group to play with, rehearsing with them, and performing with them. Whether you enjoy performing or don't enjoy performing, there are benefits that you gain from your time with other people that you can't get from your lessons, you can't get from practicing, you can't get from reading books or reading articles or watching YouTube videos. For you to reach those goals, to accomplish that objective, you must spend time making music with other people. And I like to say that a big part of that, this is not the only part of it, but a big part of that is the cultural stuff. Music is a cultural phenomenon. You cannot be a quote-unquote great trumpet player without being part of the musical environment for that style that you want to master, that musical culture for that style that you want to master. It's not possible. So for most people, most students that come in and say, this is what I want to accomplish, along the way, I don't clobber them with this at the beginning. A lot of times I don't do that because I can tell that would terrify them. Right? So I don't clobber them with this at the beginning, but as they begin to mature as players, I tell them you can't make these next steps, you can't take these next steps without now going out there and being part of the culture. There's only so much that we can do. Now, let's talk a little bit about what you can do to be part of that culture. There are community bands, so if you're on the classical side, wonderful to play in a community bands. They are almost everywhere. Small towns, big towns, huge cities, the community bands all over the world. Then there are religious groups. So whatever religion you're a part of, you'll have church orchestras, you'll have church-funded, not church-funded, church-hosted ensembles sometimes. I know that in the UK, they have a huge brass band culture. and stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunities as a trumpet player to play in a community band, community orchestra. There's also community jazz bands. Now, when we say jazz band in this context, we're talking about big band instrumentation, 4 trumpets, 5 trumpets, um, and not combo stuff. I think combo stuff is a little bit harder to find, but we don't need that, right? Because once again, most cities also have jam sessions. There's jazz jam sessions, there's rhythm and blues jam sessions, there's blues jam sessions, there's um, what do you call it? Singer songwriter. There's karaoke night. There's nothing wrong with going karaoke night and taking your trumpet. Learn a song, take it to karaoke night, and play your song. Play your trumpet at the bar or whatever on karaoke night. Sometimes there's karaoke bars. Now, what if you don't? What if you live someplace where that's not an option? Then now you got to start getting creative, right? Now you can put your own group together. And depending, now here's the beautiful thing about putting your own band together. Some people like to take the square peg and try to pound it into the round hole. Like when you think about putting a group together, your first thought is, hey, I want to start a brass quintet. Well, what if you don't have people for a brass quintet? Right? So what you have to do is go with what you've got. Go with the people, because if you're going to have trouble enough so that you have to now resort to putting your own band together, chances are you don't have a lot of people to pick from. So you just put a group together with the people who play whatever instrument that are available to you, and you work that out. There are some famous oddball instrumentations that people have done. There's I think it's called Trihornophone, something like that, in Dublin, Ireland. Trihornophone. And you would, with the most unlikely instrumentation, they have the most amazing jazz sets. There's no piano, there's no bass. I think they only later added drums. Such imaginative, beautiful, I think you could say it's jazz, it's kind of modern jazz, but these people took that group and made it work. Just 3 horns. That's why they call it trihornophone or whatever it's called. I can't remember the exact name. And then you have famous ensembles where it's just trumpet and bass. I'm living proof that you can do just trumpet duet. Whatever instrumentation is available to you, if that's all you've got, that's what you go with. And you get creative with that. You figure out what you guys can do together and you make something out of it. Here's another example. I saw on YouTube a band of 3 girls. One of them played ukulele. One of them played trombone, and if I'm not mistaken, the other one played hand percussion or something like that. Once again, a very odd combination of instruments. They sound great. I love to listen to them. I forget what they're called. Wonderful. That's, once again, that's an example of people said, hey, this is what we've got. Let's make this work. That's how I ended up recording what I record. And in fact, I'm going to tell you this. I decided, and this is a whole story I should put on a separate video. I won't tell you the whole thing now, but I decided in the late 80s that I was no longer going to write music that would just sit on my hard drive. Of course, I didn't have a hard drive back then. Sit in my file cabinet. Why would I write, for example, symphonic music if I have no avenue to get symphonic music performed? So the reason a lot of my music is written for kind of strange instrumentations is because those are the people who were hiring me to play. So this is actually a thing. You don't have to have a brass quintet or a brass quartet or a piano trio or whatever. You don't have to do that. You can get creative with it. But the point is that there are a lot of things about music in your musical objectives that will never come to fruition if you are not plugged into the culture. We just had our 101st live stream Q and A, and someone asked why we do listening and the jazz stuff, and he says, I thought that it was because if you saturated yourself with that listening, that you would learn the jazz language. And that's kind of true, but the mechanism through which you learn the jazz language is through the culture. So you do the listening so that you become plugged into the culture. And then that is what makes your jazz language start to come out through the culture. And it's the same thing with this, with the public performance stuff. And I could give you details about what it is that gets improved. But that would take hours, really. I'm already long-winded as it is. Right? So, let's just say that it's absolutely critical, unless you want to be just passively enjoying the horn. If you have serious objectives that you want to accomplish, playing with other people is paramount, because the culture is paramount. You cannot... Oh, and that's what I was saying about that guy earlier today. When you try to learn language, he was right. But the way you learn that language is to be part of the culture. The reason you saturate yourself with all that learning about different languages is so that when you go and take part in that culture, you have basic skills to get you started. But the actual learning happens when you're in that cultural environment, right? And it's the same thing here. You really should put yourself on the spot and go out there and spend time with other people playing the horn. It's so very important. I used to tell, before I had this aspect of it worked out, I used to tell people who wanted to learn how to play jazz that they need to go to the jam sessions. You need to go to the jam sessions. And they would always say, oh, yeah, I'll do that when I'm ready. You got the cart before the horse. The only way you'll ever be ready is to go to the jam sessions, right? There's no other way to do this. I was going to jam sessions. I'm not going to say that I'm like the world's greatest jazz player in the world. But I'm not terrible either. And I acknowledge that if I had not ever gone to those jam sessions, I would just be a trumpet junkie. I was going to jam sessions starting in around 1980. I was either a sophomore or a junior in high school. And I never stopped going to jam sessions. I have slowed it down quite a bit now in my older age because I don't. What's happened now is that the jam sessions are so loud. I only go to jam sessions now that are not loud. And when I say loud, I mean rock concert loud. And to me, I've been saying that's not jazz. I shouldn't be saying that. That's not in my head how I see my voice. I don't want to have to play like that. The music gets so loud. I know I'm using this time to complain, right? The music gets so loud and distorted that I can't tell what key we're in. The center of the note, I'm talking like on the bass and the piano and all that, the center of the note gets so distorted at that volume that I don't even know what key we're in. I rely heavily on my ear at these jam sessions, and if I can't tell what key we're in, and if I can't tell what key we're in, we can't tell what chord we're on, and I'm useless. So to me, I can't. So that's why I've not done as many jam sessions lately, because I have to drive an hour and a half now to get to this jam session that I know they don't play like that. And I just can't afford to give up a whole night to go to a jam session. So yes, I wish there was a jam session closer in town. I would still be going. And part of me still going to the jam session is because I want to plug into that culture. Now, my role as an older, more established player is different from your role, but it's the same culture. It's just as important for me at this end of the pendulum as it is for you at that end of the pendulum. I guess pendulum is not the best example. Anyway, so I hope that makes sense. There are so many benefits. I didn't go into the details of what those benefits are. The point of this video is to impress upon you, stress the importance of taking your music public. The only exception now is those people that have no ambition, and I don't have any problem with that. If you don't have ambition and you just want to enjoy this music, hallelujah. Hallelujah. What beautiful innocence, you know? I wish we could almost all tap into that, you know? Sometimes I think we are all too ambitious for our own good. Right? Anyway, so yeah, that's how I see it. It's paramount. Taking your music public is paramount for your growth. My job as your teacher, and in this case, I'm speaking to you as a teacher. My job as your teacher is to help you grow as a player. If you're not taking your music public in some way, you're limiting your growth. You're limiting your ability to reach those objectives that one more way to put it is you're limiting your ability to fulfill your musical purpose. Okay? All right. So that's what I've got on this one. This is video number 8 in our Trumpet Comeback Player Guide. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask here in the video, or you can join us in our sort of weekly live stream Q&A here on YouTube. We do almost every week. During the pandemic, it was just about every week. I don't do it on days that I have gigs. So, but what I've done is I've moved it early enough that if I do have a later Friday gig, I'll still do the Q&A. So anyway, God bless you guys. Ask if you have questions. We'll see you on the next video. Thank you.